Welcome to TimeBenders Talks, the ultimate destination for professional photographers and creative business people. Hosted by Peggy McCartha, a certified professional photographer with over 3.5 decades of experience and the visionary founder of the TimeBenders community. This weekly podcast brings you insightful conversations with business-savvy experts who also excel in their creative fields. Providing you with valuable tips and insights, our mission is to encourage, inspire, and educate you to empower you to find your success. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, you'll find practical advice and motivation to elevate your craft and business. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode.
Hello, everybody, and I want to introduce you to Patrick Burton. Now, I love all of the guests that come onto my show. That's why I asked them to be guests on my show. But Patrick and I have some history. We have known each other for quite a while. We have worked together. He's gotten me gigs. I've gotten him gigs. We've shared equipment. We've borrowed each other's stuff. Patrick is, simply put, just an amazing human. He's a filmmaker, a creative, and now a CEO of a startup company. So when we talk about businessing and being an entrepreneur, and I think Patrick's going to have a lot to contribute. So after that, Patrick, please introduce yourself and tell us all a little bit about yourself.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for that very generous intro, Peggy. And I got to fire it back to you. You're one of my favorite people too. It's been a pleasure to collaborate with you over the years. So a little bit about me. My name's Patrick Burton, and I am the proud CEO and co-founder of a company called Ben Vision. And Ben Vision, we're on a mission to make the world more inclusive, accessible, and beautiful for blind folks. And we do that by leveraging AI, XR, augmented reality, and of course, the universal language of music. So is that mysterious enough for you?
I love that. And Merrick and I got to go to one of the trade shows that you were presenting at, and we actually got to try it on and walk around and see how it worked. And that was, I don't know, was that like a year ago already? Has that probably been like a year ago? So I know it's probably developed and changed so much since then. But we're going to talk about businessing stuff, but I want you to actually tell us how this is, because this is like cutting edge stuff. So tell us a little bit more about this and how it works and how it's going to change the world.
I'd be happy to. I'll give you the same tagline I gave you about a year ago. That part hasn't evolved too much, but just imagine that sonar were a symphony. So we're inspired by echolocation. We actually took our inspiration from a man named Ben Underwood, hence the name of the company, Ben Vision, and the product's name as well. It's called Ben, the Binaural Experience Navigator. But this man, Ben Underwood, he's a young man, unfortunately no longer with us, but he was one of the handful of blind people that managed to teach himself how to use echolocation after cancer took his sight away. If you're not familiar with echolocation, it's that thing that bats and dolphins do to get around. They emit a squeak or a click, and then they listen to the reflection of that sound that they make, and then based on how the reflection or the echo of their sound changes, they're able to infer what surroundings they have around them. So we took this concept and we thought, if people could learn echolocation, if the brain has that capacity, then surely we can use this amazing technology that we've come to develop to make echolocation a little bit easier, more intuitive, perhaps even a little bit more pleasant. So we came up with the idea for Ben, the Binaural Experience Navigator, which is an app that gives an echolocation-like experience, but instead of beeps and clicks, the user navigates through a symphony of sound. So to quickly walk you through it, we have a few different modes right now, but basically, imagine that every object has its own musical tone, its own unique musical tone that's anchored to it. And it's placed over the object like a virtual speaker. And so as you get closer to the object, the sound gets louder. As you move further away, it gets softer. If you turn to one direction or the other, then you hear the object in the corresponding ear as if that sound is actually there. And so that's sort of the flagship mode that we started with. It was called object mode now, but it uses a computer vision algorithm to anchor musical tones to several different object categories. So we have objects like potted plants that everybody has in their house, a lot of kitchen appliances, but especially doors and doorways, because those are very important in navigation for the visually impaired, helping them get from one place to another. And so we have object mode. We also have another mode called waypoint mode, which this is sort of our enterprise offering. This is what our revenue model is based off of, because we partner with businesses such as museums and botanical gardens and universities, these kind of large spaces. We perform a 3D scan of their environments, and then we drop our musical waypoints into that scan, and then we integrate the scan so that it anchors into our app. So when you're walking around one of those spaces, a museum or garden or university, and you're holding your phone in front of you, it's actually using that information from the digital twin to give you those musical cues, so that you can hear where the bathroom is, you can hear where the drinking fountain is, or where the door to the next room is. So that's sort of an overview. Somebody I talked to recently likened us to Peter and the Wolf, which I absolutely loved. Peter and the Wolf is it's a musical tale where every character has their own theme and their own instrument. Like Peter is the strings, and the wolf is the French horn, I believe, and then there's the cat who's the clarinet, and the bird is the flute. Anyway, and so they all have their own themes that play into each other, and it's very similar to what we're building. So I love that analogy.
I think that's awesome and amazing. So because I want to talk about the mindset of being able to do something like this in the business capacity of it. So when I met you, you were a photographer and a filmmaker, and I always introduce you or talk about you behind your back by saying, this guy can making a smoothie look sexy and impressive. And I just told someone that because you did this little short video making a smoothie, and it was probably the coolest video I'd ever seen. And I just told someone about that, and the next day you had reposted that old thing, and I had to message you. I was like, oh my God, I just told somebody about this. I was going to go look for the video. So it was like you were reading my mind. But you're just extraordinarily talented. You're a talented marketer. You're a talented business-minded person. You got a camera in college. I think I remember the story, and you just kind of started doing it. But what do you think was your main struggle as far as monetizing that? Like, talent was never your issue, but what was the struggle? Let's go back to where I met you, not the beginning, but where I met you. What was your biggest struggles as a business person monetizing your extraordinary talent?
Well, thank you so much, Peggy. I was watching. I was watching. I think it was one of your previous episodes, or maybe it was something that you shared on LinkedIn or on Facebook or something. But you had mentioned that sometimes you feel like kind of embarrassed because because you're so focused on the art of what you're doing, and sometimes you miss like the business aspect, and somebody asks you something and you don't have the answer, and you've been doing this for decades now. And anyways, I relate to that wholeheartedly. That it's really easy, especially if you're in a creative or artistic career. It's really easy to focus all your energy there because that's what you're good at. That's where you shine. And the business stuff is not as sexy all the time. When people would ask me questions like, "What's your revenue model?" or "What's your go-to-market strategy?" I'd get shy. Oh, KPIs also. That always makes me run for the hills. And so even today, like I struggle because I really just want to think about the exciting stuff. But being the head of a company that's more than just me, being CEO, I've really been forced to kind of go back to the basics and put myself through startup school. Got involved in an accelerator, a great accelerator called Rally Social Enterprise Accelerator. And so that's kind of forced me to learn, all of this jargon and all of this stuff that, like, when you're talking to investors, they're going to expect you to know. But sorry, going back to your original question, what were the challenges when I was doing my creative business? A lot of it was learning, how to market myself. I got pretty good at like doing word of mouth style marketing, and a lot of the time, like I would take my camera out when I was on dates with my now wonderful wife, Christine. I would bring my camera out, much to her dismay sometimes, because she felt like she was living in a reality show. But I would, and just film whatever's around me and make a video out of that. And that was sort of my strategy for a long time, of like how to gain customers. But that ended up biting me in the ass later on, because Meta, as you know, is a trash company, and they something happened on their platform where I got banned. It was not my fault at all, but something happened on their platform where I got banned, and it was really bad timing, because this was very shortly after I had uprooted my life and moved from the LA area into the Portland, Oregon area. And like a month or so after I moved, I lost access to my Facebook and my Instagram accounts, which was how I was doing all of my marketing. And so suddenly I couldn't post those videos anymore, and I couldn't remind my clients that I still was alive, or entice new clients to come hire me. And I didn't have a backup plan, and I lost a lot of business that way. And that was actually one of the driving forces for me to pivot into this other industry, because I started to panic that I wasn't building up my network as quickly or as seamlessly as I had been able to down in Southern California. And part of that is the culture too. The entertainment industry is much larger in Los Angeles area and San Diego than it is up here. But I really struggled because I had leaned on my word of mouth marketing that had suddenly been taken away from me. So that was probably a big challenge, and one that I still struggle with is like how to market and advertise myself as a service. And yeah, I don't know. Can you relate to that at all?
Absolutely. I think for me, I used to think if I'm the best photographer around and I have good prices, it would be a no-brainer. People would just find me and pay me. And that it kind of worked for me for a long time, to be honest, because you get that one client and then they refer you. When I moved to San Diego from Arizona, I moved to San Diego in 2002, and I got literally the dream client. This one client brought me in 12 or 13 clients, directly brought me in 12 or 13 clients in my first year in San Diego. And that's what I built my entire studio on. Because each one of them also brought in one or two more. And, it was just always easy for me, because I always really focused on my client experience. and I over delivered, under promise, over deliver. And that was always enough for me until all of a sudden it wasn't.
Yeah.
And then I had no plan B because I didn't know anything about business. I didn't know anything about marketing. And all of a sudden, when I was a one, what do they call it? A one trick pony. Like I knew one thing, I knew how to do one thing. And when that one thing, when the industry shifted, and that one thing no longer worked, I was like, well, I don't know what to do. And that's what really spiraled me into, what am I going to do? I've been doing this long enough that I don't know how to do anything else. And also, I don't want to do anything else, but I need to make money. And so I had to really scramble and start learning how to run a business. And it's a scary feeling, right? When like you're like, I don't need this, it's all fine, and then it literally stops overnight.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, the bills are still due.
Yeah. Yeah.
The kids still want to eat. Weird.
I know. Funny how that happens.
Yeah.
It can all come crashing down really, really suddenly. I saw a meme that makes its way. It circulates around social media every now and then, but it's like this is the life of a freelancer, of a creative or something, and there's two panels and it's The Simpsons, and one is Bart. Then he's like banging pots and pans and going like, I am so great, I am so great. And then the next panel is him like face down on the floor. Like, yep, those are my two speeds.
Yep, that literally describes it though. You're either like, on the top and I think especially when you don't take the time to understand how to market and how to budget your money and how you should, run a business to make profit, then you're always either on the top or on the bottom, and there's no middle ground. And I think that's the key, is when you actually start running your business as a business, there's always going to be ups and downs, but it should be nice waves, not peaks and valleys. Like I lived for many, many years. It's like, oh, yay, we've got okay, now potatoes for dinner again tonight.
Yes.
Just put some more butter in that. That'll be fine. You're full. You're full enough.
Yes.
So, it's really insane, because I see so many talented people. Few people as talented as you, though. Like, I always gush about Patrick because the way your brain works, like the way you see things, like during the pandemic, him and his wife started roller skating. Okay. And I can see why when you said she feels like she lives in a reality show, I'm like, yeah, I guess I can kind of see that.
Yeah, literally documenting every day of her journey.
Yes. So, but if you ever want a great roller skating documentary from like, stumbling along to like out there. In fact, you guys wore roller skates at your wedding dance.
That's
like
true.
You came out on skates. So anyway, but yeah, it's fabulous. I'm going to tell you how you can follow Patrick before we go, and make sure you're checking the comments and the description, because I want everyone to follow Patrick because he really is creative and amazing. So what would you say, besides marketing? Let's talk about mental health. Let's talk about how exciting and how lonely it is to be creative.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the best thing in the world and the worst thing in the world all at the same time. Would you agree with that statement?
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yeah. The peaks and valleys really runs true. And it's, the mental health thing is important. I shared something the other day that I think I saw you left a comment on or something about how your competition isn't your competition, especially as a creative or as a freelancer. And that was something that took a long time for me to kind of get through my head. It's like, especially because I grew up doing athletics. I was a fencer, which is a very highly competitive sport. And it's an individual sport. You don't generally compete on a team. So I had this sort of mentality like, oh, I need to be the best. I need to, screw all the rest. I need to come out on top. And it and it was a lonely life doing that. But when I when I came to accept that, like, oh, like my competition isn't necessarily here to like stifle me and push my head under the water as I've been trying to do to them. A lot of them are actually genuinely like they're in love with the craft and they want to connect with other people who are also who share this passion. And so I started collaborating with more filmmakers. I started welcoming more filmmakers into my productions or my projects, and opening myself up to work on theirs. And actually, one of the best friends that I've ever made was originally my competitor, who I was very jealous of, Ryan Castleman. And he now we help each other out on each other's projects all the time. But if I hadn't opened myself up to be friends with other filmmakers and other creatives, I never would have had that relationship with him. But also my own wife, she famously, she bested me when we went head to head at the 48-hour film competition in San Diego, which I'm always very hesitant to share, but not really. I'm actually very proud of that. I'm really proud that I married somebody who was able to beat me at my own game. Yeah, like some of the best relationships that I formed in my life have been, and you, of course. I because I think you're more photography and I'm more video. I've never really viewed you as competition, but we still exist in the same space. And there was an instance or two where like I couldn't do a job, so I tossed it over to you, and that really solidified our bond, and then we ended up working together for the same client, I think, a month.
Yeah, that was a fun shoot.
It was really fun. Yeah. So to speak to the loneliness aspect, I think that's something that's really important, is to remember that like your competition isn't, they can be competitors, but they're not your enemies.
They're not your enemies. And the one thing that, talking about competitors, that I'm always saying is the point that you made was brilliant. And I've always kind of missed that aspect of it. I always focus on the fact that my ideal clients are not your ideal clients, and my style is not your style. So the people that want to work with me don't want to work with you, and vice versa. So we're really not competitors, because we're reaching different people. We may be doing the same thing, but 4 million people in LA. Lots of photographers, lots of videographers, but we all have our own, spin on it. We all have our own personalities. We all have our own ideas of what success looks like. So we're all going to approach things differently. And if we go in thinking that, oh, look at how they're marketing themselves, that looks really weird to me, I would never do that. That's cool that they're doing that, instead of like, can you believe they're doing, like, instead of like publicly cutting them or, publicly shaming or trying to point out flaws, just being like, wow, that's really interesting. I would have never thought of that. And sometimes it'll like stir up something like, oh, have you thought of that? Or, you know what, we could work together. We would actually be really good on this specific project if we work together. And, instead of always having that undercut and, fight to win, because then everybody's punching everyone down and, pulling each other down. But if we're like, hey, did you ever think about, like, I see you do this. Did you ever think about that? Like, would that help you if you did that? Like, and start pulling each other up, then we're all pushing each other up, which means we can all collectively raise our prices, which means we can all collectively make more money, which means we can all be happy and we can all be friendly. And, there's always the people that you don't want to associate yourself with because maybe they have bad business practices, and you can separate yourself without cutting them down. Just like, oh, they do things differently than I do, so I'm going to stay over here. People are smart. They see things like that. You don't have to go out and try to cut them down. And my favorite is when people get in my comments, like if I post something and they'll say, DM me, I'll beat her price. And I'm like,
wow.
why would you do that? Like,
on your own post?
why would you set yourself up to like go under my, my price? Like I would probably do the opposite. I would be like, I'm a bit more expensive, but I'll give you better work. Like if we're going to do something like that, but why would you go down? Like that doesn't even make logical sense.
Oh man, I'm grateful I've never had that happen.
Yeah. When I first, there's one guy that was just notorious for doing that. And people would tell me like, this person like reached out to me because I commented on your thing. And, at first I was really angry, and then I thought, well, if he'll do that job for $150, like let him do the job for like I wouldn't pull my camera out of the bag for $150. Let's be honest.
Good.
But yeah, so I like that. And it's, you can set yourself up for success or failure depending on your outlook and the way you want to look at things. I think that I always see you as, positive Patrick. Like you're always like smiling and laughing and like you always see the best in everything, but you're also a human. So I'm sure that you have those days where, things are just crappy and it's like, well, screw all this stuff. But you're very good at presenting yourself as, always the positive guy and people want to hang out with people like that. I want to hang out with you because I think he's always got a smile on his face. He's funny. He's going to make me laugh. He's going to do some crazy shot. And I'm going to be like, how did you do that? Why did you do that? And why does it look so good? So, I think that, just having that mindset really does help.
Yeah. Thank you. But I certainly do have those darker days. Sometimes, like even this morning, I was getting myself down about just frustrating business related stuff, and I was like, no, I have to pull myself out about it. I have to be smiling for Peggy's podcast. but I mean, you made it very easy. The second I heard your voice, the smile went ear to ear. But yeah, it's, and I think it's important to acknowledge that we all have those, nobody is happy 24 hours a day, and we all, and not that anyone should be either, because being unhappy or uncontent, I should say, it means that you're striving for something better, and we should all be continuously trying to improve ourselves or our standing or our something. You don't want to stay stagnant all the time. And
you should have friends, and you should have a community where you can come in and say, screw all this, I'm done. And everybody, come in and, talk you through it. You should be able to say, I don't understand this. I don't want to do profit and loss today. I don't understand any of this. It doesn't make sense. I don't know. My checking account isn't in the red. That's all that matters to me. I mean, you should be able to come in and say, like, I don't understand this. This is stupid. I don't want to do it. And, and have a community that's there that says, hey, we all have been there. I mean, there are things to this day that like somebody will say and I'll be like, huh, I'm going to go Google that real quick and then we'll finish this conversation. And
Yeah.
then I'm going to ask you some very good questions so that next time I know what you're talking about. Because we none of us know everything. None of us are good at everything. But when we're surrounded with a community, the thing that you're good at and I'm not, and vice versa, and we all kind of fill in the blanks for each other. I think that's really the only way to survive this kind of a, and let's be honest, most creative people are highly intelligent.
Yeah.
And that's a lonely life.
Yeah.
I mean, when you like, this is so obvious. Why don't people see this? Um, you you have to feel like that sometimes.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, not to toot my own horn. I am pretty smart.
I know that about you.
No.
You are very intelligent, and I always think, I wonder if he's like, Peggy, why are you asking me this question? This is like, do you know that 1+1 = 2? Have you figured that out yet? Yes, I have.
No.
Okay. Um,
No.
but
Something I've always admired about you, Peggy, is your fearlessness in being authentic, and I think that's something that's so important. It's actually one of my favorite gigs that I get to do every now and then. I get invited to speak somewhere, to present, or to do a teaching gig. And last week I got to teach, and I don't feel bad saying it's the favorite job I've ever had, because they treat me so well and I get so much out of it. But it's this institute called the Hanson Leadership Institute. They take leadership students from around the globe. This year they had fellows from Nepal, from Egypt, from Saudi Arabia, Russia, and Ukraine. And they had 18 different countries, and they teach them all how to work together, how to run leadership programs, and manage conflict. But one of the main recurring themes of this program is vulnerability, and being in touch with your emotions, not stifling your emotions down, but being able to access them and to identify them and to be unafraid to share them. And to share your moments of weaknesses too, like what you were talking about, and not being able to answer a question, or not knowing what someone's talking about. And this is something I've also learned, as a CEO, is that, like, especially investors, but people in general have very finely tuned bullshit detectors. And if you're speaking from somewhere inauthentically, or if you're trying to answer a question that you don't know the answer to, it's pretty obvious. And people can smell that, and it just makes things a little bit awkward, because then you feel like you're talking to a robot. And so yeah, anyways, that's something that I've always thought you've been a great champion of, Peggy, is that ability to be authentic, and to not try to pretend to be something that you're not.
well, thank you, thank you. This is the Patrick and Peggy show. Merrick's on here. He's like, "Hey, Patrick."
Hey,
I
man.
I forgot that we have live chats. I was so engulfed in talking to you. I was like, "Oh, we have somebody chatted." Merrick.
Yay. Oh, hey, Merrick. I miss you, man.
But yeah, this is just really amazing. Now, this is something that I don't normally do on the live or on the podcast, but I really want you guys to not only follow Patrick on LinkedIn and everywhere else that he is, and check out his amazingness, but I want you to get involved with his company. I want you to donate. Merrick and I donated. We're going to donate some more here in a couple of weeks. But we want you to get involved and help him. So tell us like some of the exciting things. Like, you went from,
Sorry,
I talk to people that come out of corporate and go into, an entrepreneurial thing, but you've always pretty much been entrepreneurial. You've always pretty much been in, a very creative business. And you've moved that into your own your own still creative business, but on a really much larger scale. And this is something that you're doing that's literally going to change the lives of hundreds of thousands of people around the world. Like, this isn't just like a cute idea. This is something that's literally going to help people that are vision impaired to be able to navigate public places with ease, their own home with ease, and go out and live a easier life that's not so hard. It's tough when you have a disability, because the world is, catering to people that don't. So when you are differently abled, it's tough. And this is going to make it easier. This is going to change the world. So tell us how we can help you change the world, Patrick.
Thank you. Thank you for that excellent lead in. Yeah, so we just last week we launched a GoFundMe campaign. You can access it at gofundme.com/benvision. And it's we are seeking seed investment at the moment, but we've also just about a month ago launched pilot programs where we're working with our very first customers to to get this solution into the hands of the people who need it. And as we expand our network of we call it Ben-abled spaces, when we perform the 3D scan and drop our musical waypoints, that's called Ben-abling, because I love wordplay. That as we expand the network, the scale of funding that we're going to need is also going to increase. And so we've been around for about a year now. We've been incorporated as a company for about a year now. And it's largely been self-funded. Well, it has been self-funded, largely, from my own pocket until I ran out of money. And then my parents have helped out a great deal, but it's really mostly my incredible wife, Christine, who has put in the funds to allow us to keep going. And so grateful to her for that. But we just need a little bit more of a push so that we can get through this initial pilot phase. Investors really want to see a company making revenue. We're almost there. We're so close. And it looks like with these first couple of these first adopters that we are going to see some significant revenue coming in. Again, we need your help to get us to that point. And then we'll be flying, and so will the wonderful blind folks that we're trying to help.
That is awesome. So, what I want you guys to do is get involved in this GoFundMe, share the GoFundMe. Patrick put together, of course, an amazing video, because it's Patrick. And so, check out what they're doing, get involved with it. Share it on your social media, share it with all your folks. If you are not sharing this video, that's fine, but make sure you share Patrick's stuff, because I really do think that this matters. And I want to see this really get off the ground and be able to say, like, I know this guy. I know this guy. As always, Patrick, we are so proud of you and so excited about the amazing things you're doing. And it has been fun for me to watch you grow in your art, in your craft, in your talents, in your business, and to watch you, come up into, your own startup company. It's amazing. And just so excited.
Oh, thank you so much, Peggy. It's been I always love getting to catch up with you and see about all of the great podcasts that you host, and just catch up with what you're doing in your life. I'm looking forward to the next time we get together for dinner.
I know. It's been a while. You're going to have to be coming out this way soon again. So. We were almost in the Portland area a while back, and we missed each other, but we'll get up there again.
Good. Yeah. Please let me know when you do.
Absolutely. So let's recap. We talked about not being a jerk to each other, and looking at our competition as more of a colleague situation. We talked about not being afraid to ask questions, and it's okay to not know things. We talked about have fun, and really find a community that fits for you. What else did we talk about besides how awesome you are?
Oh gosh, I mean, yeah, and emotional intelligence. Being able to access your emotions and not hide them, but wear them on your sleeve.
Absolutely. So lots of good things today, guys. And I will see you guys next week. And Patrick, I look forward to seeing you very soon as well.
Yes.
Thank you again.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Peggy.
Thanks for listening to TimeBenders Talks. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Being a creative business person doesn't have to be lonely. Schedule a tour of the TimeBenders community today and discover how you can join this amazing group of creative professionals and be a part of a supportive and encouraging community where everyone thrives and succeeds. Click on the link in the description.